reminder, this is the Wednesday, March 21st edition of our little weather get-together. We are continuing our National Weather Podcast Month, and we're happy to have the Weather Junkies on with us tonight. We have Dakota Smith on, as well as Tyler. And Tyler, I don't want to mess your last name up. Jankoski, right? Is that right, Tyler?
It's close. There's no W, so it's Jankoski.
Okay, there we go. So Tyler and Dakota are with us tonight, and if you remember, we had the guys on a couple of years ago, so kind of getting back together. And tonight it's really just kind of a free topic. We're going to be talking about weather podcasting and the crazy weather that Tyler's been experiencing up in the Northeast, as well as Peter. And we also have Chris Jackson on with us tonight. Chris is a meteorologist in the South Carolina area, and Chris was able to head out west Monday and I guess yesterday as well. He was in Alabama and Georgia and South Carolina chasing those crazy tornadoes. And Chris has got a slideshow for us for some of the images that he captured. So we'll also talk about that later on in the program. But this is a live broadcast. So if you are listening live on the Facebook Live or Periscope, or if you're watching on our YouTube page and you want to interact with us, feel free to give us a shout out on Twitter or Facebook, and we'll give those questions answered. And if you're listening to the podcast later on in the week or a couple of weeks from now, we'll let our guests share their social media platforms so you can reach out to them as well. So I think I've covered enough bases that James can find out if there's any tech issues, and I haven't heard from James. So James, since we're getting a late start, I'll give it to you so we can get the program started.
And thank you very much, Scotty. You are absolutely right. We are bringing you tonight's broadcast live via the internet, but Tyler is also on the phone, so we wanted to make sure we were squared away there and situated. So let me start there and kind of vet this out in real time during our live broadcast here on this March the 21st. Tyler, are you able to hear us okay there on the phone?
Yes, loud and clear.
What's it like to be on a phone? Is that one of those appliances you have to hold to your head?
Well, the challenge is I'm in rural Vermont, and there is no Wi-Fi here, so I didn't bring my laptop. But at least the internet, the phone connection has come along. There used to be days when you couldn't even use your cell phones where I am, so I'm feeling good with my connection.
That's good. That's good. And we can hear you loud and clear here in the Carolinas and across the internet. So that's good as well too. And as Scotty just mentioned to those you watching us online, feel free to use the comments feature, whether you're on Facebook Live, Periscope, or what's the third one? There's a third important one that I'm forgetting about, and that's YouTube. So if you're there, you can use the comment function as well too to ask your questions. If not, later on in the show, our guests will have their social media information coming on up. So let's say hello here to Dakota, your co-host Tyler on the Weather Junkies. He is joining us in the magical fashion of Google Hangouts so we can see his face. Dakota, tell us a little bit about the Weather Junkies. I know you guys were on with us last year, but for folks who aren't familiar with your show as we celebrate Weather Podcast Awareness Month, tell us a little bit about your show.
Yeah, so we've been on about 2.5 years now. Not as long as you all. And it's very similar to your show, except that it's just two hosts, and we have a guest on. We've been trying to do it weekly. Recently, we've been struggling a little bit, slacking a little bit. But yeah, Tyler and I just talk about whatever interests us, and it's a lot of fun. Tyler and I have a lot of fun doing it. We hope people listening do as well.
I think we can relate a little bit to what you were just talking about there. Just to be completely frank and honest with folks, doing a weekly show is a lot, and none of us are getting paid unless you guys are getting paid and found out a magical way to do it. If so, please let us know. So it does.
If Dakota gets paid, I don't.
Go ahead, Tyler.
If Dakota gets paid, I don't.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I think Scotty's been holding out, or Peter on our end seems to have all of the Cinnabons. If he's got a sponsorship, no one's told me about it.
It's Peter. He's getting secretly paid. And I think Shay is too, because he gets to do all the cool El Nino and La Nina talk and stuff like that. I'm just the chief booking officer. I don't get paid anything.
Well, on that note, and I don't know who's best here I was going to ask about bookings, but maybe before we get in that, you guys are a two-man operation as far as I can tell. How do the roles differ? Do you guys divide up the responsibilities when it comes to handling the show? And maybe I'll pose that question first to Tyler.
Dakota does most of the booking. For a while, he was doing grad school, and I was working in TV, and now he's working, so things are in flux, and we both work really odd hours. It shifts, and it's always different, so it's real challenging to get into a routine. But by far, Dakota has done most of the booking, and occasionally when I get someone, I bring them on the show. But certainly we're always evaluating ways to make it better. I mean, we used to do it live at the same time every day of every week, and it's just become easier to do it on the fly when guests are available and when we're available. So it's challenging, but we're getting better.
I think our crew would kill me if we were to go any day but Wednesday. I'm just kidding.
Dakota, I know when you guys were on last year, one of the takeaways I think we had as a friendly competing podcast is that you guys, if I recall correctly, had some show music. Is that right? Do you guys do a little post-production on your broadcast?
Yeah, we have intro, outro music. And now it's all edited because, well, not all edited. Most of it is just raw, but because it's not live, we can do some post-production editing and slap some music on the end and the beginning. Yeah,
that's something we try to challenge ourselves with, for better or for worse, doing everything live to tape, which make things a little interesting sometimes. You guys have what sounds like a really well-produced show, and even as you're joining us right now, you have an excellent connection for the tech junkies who are listening out there and want to learn more about the Weather Junkies. What's your setup like there?
Like mic-wise?
Yeah.
And stuff? So I use a Yeti Snowball, Yeti Blue, I think is what it's called. And I have if people watching, I have a little pop filter here to kind of filter out some of the louder noises. And then it's a USB microphone hooked up. I use Audacity, a software to edit audio. Very simple, free to download. And I'm working on trying to get Tyler to get a microphone. I hear one has been ordered finally. I've been giving him grief forever.
Yeah. The Yeti Blackout Edition is in the mail, but it got delayed by the storm. And it's
blame it on the weather.
But it arrived tomorrow.
All right, well, we will look for that on your most recent episode. And do let us know how that works out, because I know we've got some folks who are shopping for microphones over here too. So what has changed in your show in the past year? Who did you have on? What improvements did you make? What did you learn? All that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a ton of guests on that I never thought I would even talk to ever. You know, we kind of piggybacked off of you all. You had Jim Cantori on in the fall, and then we had him on just a few weeks ago. We had Louis Uccellini on. I was actually going back and trying to remember a conversation from last time, and you asked us who our two guests would be you asked Tyler and I both which guest we would want to have on, dream guest, and we said John Neese and Louis Uccellini, and we had them both on since then. So I mean, it's just been awesome, right? I mean, you guys know it's the people you get to talk to, the conversations you get to have are just incredible, and I'm so grateful that we've been able to do this.
Yeah, you guys looks like you just recently had Jim Cantori on, and I'm so glad you were able to get those two big guests on. In addition to doing the audio show that it looks like you guys put out on several platforms, do you guys have a digital web presence as well too, and how does that fit into your responsibilities?
Yeah, so we have a website, theweatherjunkies.com, and I put up a post for every episode with like a brief description and then an embedded player so you can listen right there online. Most people listen on their podcast platform and not online. And we also put a few blog posts up there every now and then if I'm bored or something. So yeah, I don't think it's used as much as I would like for it to be used by people, but I think it's a nice place for if someone just perusing the web, if they stumble upon it.
Tyler, I'm going to pose this next question to you, and I'm only blatantly saying that since you can't see us handing things off to you. You guys recently had your 100th episode. What was it like to mark that milestone?
Well, we look at the number and the count of episodes, and it's sort of crazy to think that we've been doing it for over 2 years now, I believe. And I don't know where the time has gone, but it's pretty cool that we've been able to keep something going that certainly we enjoy, but we don't make any money off of, and we have much bigger obligations at the same time. But I think the goal behind what we've always done is to just have a way to talk about what's going on. I know a lot of meteorologists are constantly texting other meteorologists, whether it's about a forecast or about things that have gone wrong or whatever, and certainly censored to some degree, but that's what we do on the podcast. We talk about ways to better what we do, ways to just improve, and things that have gone on. And it's been pretty varied. We've had climate talks, we've had talks about recent storms, we've had talks about future storms, all sorts of stuff. But we just wanted a way for other people to listen, a little bit of a bigger audience than just a couple text messages. And the other thing was Dakota was sort of disconnected from the operational part of weather when he went off to Colorado. So that was why we started it, and it sort of turned into something good. And it's really the guests that bring the added flair each week.
You mentioned one thing there that stood out at me, and I think we can fully relate, is that, you know, we all do this because we love it, and we hope the audience listens because they love it, but we make no money. So I'm going to get real for a moment, because I see you guys like us have a Patreon page where people can donate. And it looks like you guys have some followers who maybe are helping a little bit with the cost, but I assume there's still a little bit of an operational cost, even though no one's making any money. I mean, what are you guys doing to try to support the show from a logistics standpoint?
Yes, I'll take that. We have 3 followers on Patreon. One of them is my mom, so we really just have 2 Patreon followers.
I can't even get my mom to sign on, though, so you're ahead of me there.
Oh, that's a good idea, actually, Mom.
Yeah.
And think how many panelists we have on this show, and we still can't get
gosh.
All right, everybody's got to get their moms involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it doesn't pay for everything. Since we have a website, that costs a little bit. And then, as you all know, the hosting the podcast somewhere costs something every month. And then the outside stuff, like the mic, you know, you don't need a mic to podcast, but it really, really adds, improves the quality. So yeah, it just comes out of the paycheck, you know, not the biggest deal. If it's something you like to do, then that's part of it.
Well, I also want to give you guys shout outs and credits, because one of the things that I think we've been trying to effort here, not to call out our audience, we love them dearly, but I see that you guys have also managed to get some really great reviews on Apple Podcasts, on the former iTunes store, and it looks like you've got at least 15 of them. So unless you guys have 15 moms,
wow,
you're making some traction there too.
No, not 15 moms. We plug it at the end of every show. So and we also read the reviews. If there's ever a new one, we'll read it, and I think that kind of encourages people to review. So if you're listening right now to Carolina Weather Group, please rate and review the show. We'd love it.
We would too.
They'd love it.
Yeah, absolutely. We would.
We don't check those reviews, do we, James?
We do now. we do starting right now.
Sorry, guys.
Peter,
Tell our
that's your
viewers
job.
that.
Hey, Scotty, just you didn't have to admit that to everybody all the time here.
I didn't even know
Done
that we were.
awkward, you know.
I didn't even know we had reviews. I want to, yeah.
Well, Scotty checks on that.
Yeah, if you've been reviewing us for these years now, then we have.
We're sorry. Yeah, we'll get back with you.
What Dakota, what other platforms are you guys on? It looks like you, like us, recently maybe made the move to Stitcher.
Yeah, we were on Stitcher from day one because I listened to my podcast on Stitcher when I used to listen on like online and not on the phone. But yeah, we're on Stitcher, obviously iTunes, and then I think we're hosted by Blueberry, and I believe they send it to a whole bunch of places that I don't even know about. We're also on Google Play, and recently we were on Spotify. That's the brand new one. So and that's really cool if you're at work and you're trying to make the time go by. Have Spotify up.
Hold the
always
phone.
handy.
You got Spotify to approve you?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I'm going to be honest, no idea how it happened.
Because we can't get
James-
Spotify to approve us.
James,
That's messed up.
we pay you the big bucks, and you come on now.
Oh yeah.
Other weather podcasts are getting this now.
I know. And now I feel like I'm letting everybody down. So listeners at home, when you're done writing us the Apple review, if you could also write a note to Spotify, that would be great.
I have a viewer question, James.
Yeah, please go right ahead. Go right ahead, because we love our viewers. So if you got one question from them, all the better. Go right ahead, Scotty.
So don't ignore the questions.
Dakota and Tyler, I know you guys did a show a while back on weather Twitter, and so this kind of correlates with this viewer's question. This is from JP Cobb. He's wanting to know: do you think there's room in the weather podcast industry where you could do mostly shows about tweets instead of interviews? So I kind of correlate that to the show you guys did about weather Twitter. Can you maybe answer his question, then talk about what you guys discussed on that show?
Yeah, I could take that. Hi, JP. JP's awesome. He's always, I think, listening to a lot of the weather podcasts, so I appreciate his support. That's a cool concept. I really think that could that's unique, I think. And I think you could do like a podcast on like a thread, like a string of tweets that kind of focused in on a topic. Some of the Twitter threads I've read, like I feel like I learned so much from whether it's a National Weather Service forecaster or someone who's communicating science and weather. The back and forth I see on weather Twitter it can be incredible. So JP, I'd give it a shot if you're thinking about doing that. Sure, go ahead, give it a shot.
And I apologize, you guys didn't do a show. Dakota, you wrote a blog about it. I got that that part messed up. But yeah, I actually read your blog when you displayed that, and I agree with a lot of stuff that you talked about in that blog.
Like to have fun.
That's right. You got to share pet pictures, right? Pet pictures work. You can't scream at people on all capital letters. Can't do that.
I'm not supposed to be screaming at people in all capital letters?
No, you can't.
Oh.
Oh, James.
Dakota and Tyler, my question to you guys is, we are in the midst of National Weather Podcast Month. This is the second year that we've undergone this month, and I want to know from you guys, how do you feel like it's succeeded? I mean, last year was kind of getting our feet wet. We're now into year two. What do you think the progress is of that?
I think it's cool. Who created it? Do you know?
That was Phil with the Phil was, I think, the mastermind behind it at the Stormfront Freaks, and then I know he reached out to a bunch of us, I guess a couple of years ago, and Shay and myself do a lot for Carolina Weather Group on that, and I just think it's a great thing. It's good to get everyone noticed.
Yeah, I'd love to know exactly who listens to the podcast. I hope the audience is wider than the Twitter audience, because the Twitter audience is pretty limited. A lot of people don't know how to use Twitter. A lot of people will say they have an account, but they don't go on it because they don't get it. I hope that these podcasts reach a little bit more than the Twitter audience, because there's certainly some good information out there. The other thing I would say about weather podcasts is the market is pretty saturated. There are a couple podcasts, obviously, that have been around for a few years now, but then there's a new one with the AMS, right, Dakota?
Yeah, AMS on the air, brand new show. I'm helping them out a little bit to get it started, but I tried to get them. I've been trying to get them to have a podcast for a while now, and they finally said, yeah, let's do it. So yeah. But overall, I think the Weather Podcast Month has been great, and it's a cool concept. We all kind of operate individually as our own shows, and it's cool for a month to kind of come together and be on each other's shows and talk about podcasting, some of the things that we don't get to talk about in a normal show. So kudos to Phil for organizing that and keeping it going. I'm looking forward to next year.
Yeah, we have a new podcast as well from Jonathan Erdman and Ari Sarsalari from the Weather Channel started their own. So they may get a little snowball running with their podcast as well. So yeah, the community keeps growing.
I heard he announced that on your show last week. You guys got kind of a scoop there. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, or a little bit of an early heads up. So I still have to go back and listen to it, but yeah, that'll be my project for tonight.
And I guess to extend on that, what do you guys think the future of the weather podcast industry is? Do you, like Tyler said, it's kind of saturated right now. Do you continue to see it maybe growing or maybe kind of plateauing out? Or I know we're all trying to strive to be like the Weather Brains. They're going 12 years strong now. So
I think it'll reach a plateau. It may already be there. A lot of it is dependent on what we do for real jobs. So that is in the mix going forward.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know. It seemed like for a while, from when I listened to podcasts, there were two shows, and it was you all and Weather Brains. And then we started in November of 2015. Yeah. And during that time, just there were like a whole bunch that just went up. There was Weather Hype, Stormfront Freaks, Mark Jelinik's show, What Is It About the Weather? And it was kind of like a boom. I don't know what triggered it, but there was kind of like a boom in weather podcasts. And yeah, we might be at the plateau, but I mean, it seems like weather is more and more something that people want to consume, and podcasts are still on the rise. So yeah, I think there's room for more, honestly.
I agree. Sorry, James, I don't mean to step on your feet here, but we do a lot of booking and stuff, and I know you guys are talking about try to have a show every week. That's what we try to do here. We may take 3 or 4 weeks off a year. How hard is it to find new topics or maybe kind of recreate an old topic and present it a new way for you guys? That's one thing that thankfully, I think we're booked all the way through April now.
I mean, that's a great question. For a while, Tyler and I had like topics picked out that we were going to focus on for the show. Now it's more like we have an idea of what we want to talk about, and we want to bring that up during the show, but it's more loose. It's free form. We kind of go wherever the conversation goes, and then afterwards we title the podcast kind of based on what we talked about. I think you all do a great job with that. I'm impressed by how focused each episode is every week. So honestly, you probably have better advice than I do about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that you're going to struggle with when you get past like the 1 or 2 year mark, and we're there. But I think the great thing about weather is it's always happening and there's always an event. So if you want to make it topical, make it relevant to what's going on or what just happened, you can do that. And even if you've already talked about the topic, you can add to it or maybe talk about something new in that topic area. So certainly this March that we've had in the Northeast is going to come up in a future podcast. And even though we've talked about it before, there's always something to say.
I agree. And one thing that we've done here, I mean, we brought on Eric and we brought on Jordan. We brought on Ashley. Ashley Morris was with us tonight, and we had to drop somebody because our tech issues. And Ashley is an emergency management in Texas. So with Eric and Jordan and Ashley, we've kind of broadened our scope of area. I mean, with Eric in Tennessee and Ashley in Texas, Jordan's here in North Carolina, but we've kind of broadened our horizon outside of the Carolinas, and I think that's helped us a little bit with bringing in new topics. We're maybe not as centralized Carolina as we used to be, and that's the thing that I've posed to everybody in the group is this something that we could change our name, but we feel like our identity's already been given out, and we're going on 4 years of this, so it's kind of like can't really touch the name because that's what everybody knows us as, but we don't really cover the Carolinas as much as we used to.
You gotta stick with the name. I think it's your brand, and for me, like I originally when I like first heard about you all, gosh, I don't know how many years ago, I was a little hesitant to listen because I wasn't in the Carolinas or whatever. But then I realized, oh, this is much more than the Carolinas. So yeah, I think you stick with the name, and I think it's awesome how many panelists you've brought on. I really like the addition of Ashley because her perspective is so different than than just a pure meteorologist, with her emergency management background. So I've really enjoyed that. We're actually going to add a host or two in the future here, but I think we're going to stick. Yeah, Tyler. I don't know if I was allowed to-
We're getting breaking news on all these podcasts. I love it.
Yeah, Tyler, I can let you break that news if you want.
We are excited to have Ryan Breton join us for an occasional podcast going forward. That should start in early April. He's also a broadcaster in New England, so we're strengthening that New England connection.
That's really cool.
And then we'll hopefully add. I think we're gonna add another person in the summer, but we're gonna stick with the 2-host kind of format, so just because that's what we've been doing, and we're kind of used to that, and we're comfortable with that at the moment.
All right, James, back to you. That's I'll stop right now.
Oh, you're fine, Scotty. I jumped in before because they paid us a compliment of our show seems so organized, and I was just gonna say, yeah, but you should come to the pre-show meeting because it's the exact opposite.
I got a little taste of that today, but it still seemed like organized chaos. Nothing too crazy.
Just wait till the after show.
You should see the after show.
We're not normally trying to juggle so many different lines, but this is great. We got quite the party line going on today as well. And Scotty, I know we have another guest on our line who's going to tell us about his storm chasing ventures in Alabama this week, coming up here in just a moment. But before we wrap up the first conversation about Weather Junkies, I know we talked about your website, guys, but give us the sales pitch. How do we find you on social media, and what is there a particular day of the week we should look for that podcast, or should we just be subscribed and keep our eyes out on the phone for that notification that a new episode's out?
Used to, like I said, always do it on the same day. Used to do it on Thursday. Our goal now is one a week, so I would recommend the subscription option because it may not always be at the same exact time, but usually we'll do it, we record it so it's not live, and then we'll maybe do some post-processing and put it online. So there's one a week, but it's not exactly the same time each week.
How much time do you guys spend producing the show? Like, how much gets cut out? Does a lot end up on the cutting room floor?
Most of it.
No, I think. Most of it ends up.
I answered that question poorly. Most of it ends up in the show.
That was my fault, by the way, because I asked 2 questions in one with opposite answers.
No, it's okay.
How much do you use? How much do you edit? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I don't spend too much time editing it. Just quality control. Like if there's some bad audio for some parts, I'll take it out. And I edit a few other podcasts, and sometimes I'm spending like hours and hours editing those. And sometimes it's just a little much.
Well, Scotty, I might actually toss it back up to you. I know we are about 10 minutes shy to 9 o'clock here on our live show, talking with the Weather Junkies live on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Periscope, and on our podcasts, listening on your phone, mobile device, or does anyone listen with Amazon Alexa? That would be kind of cool. On TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. So, Scotty, my friend, we'll keep Tyler and Dakota around as maybe we talk a little bit about tornadoes here next, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to do that. I do have one last question because I want you guys to promote your social media accounts. And it kind of ties in with this last question. How do you market your podcast? How do you get the word out about shows? We know how Facebook crazy that is, and Twitter. What's the best way for our followers to get the latest updates, and then let us know all the outlets that we can find it on.
Appreciate that, Scotty. You can follow us on Twitter, the WX Junkies. We're also on Facebook. Give us a like there. And you can if you're listening to this podcast right now on your phone, on a podcast platform, search the Weather Junkies, and it'll be right there. Actually, a pretty easy pitch since they're already listening to podcasts. We're on pretty much every platform: Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, the works.
And if they want to follow you guys personally, because Tyler has all these crazy nor'easters hitting him all the time, and you do these awesome tweets about Go 16, how can they do that?
Yeah, so I'm at WeatherDac on Twitter, and I'm basically just a Goes bot at this point, just putting out Goes gifs. So if you don't like Goes gifs, don't follow. If you like Goes gifs, give it a follow because you'll like it.
Yeah, you just had a 4-panel up, and so I want to kind of ask you a quick question. Are you now a producer at the Weather Channel? Are you doing an internship, or is it an actual job, or what's going on there?
Weather Nation. Yeah, I'm a producer.
Weather Nation.
I'm a producer over at Weather Nation. Yeah, just started about 3 weeks ago, and having a blast over there.
I was gonna show everybody. I don't know if you can see my phone, but that's what the emblem is. It's like a cloud with the lightning. It says the Weather Junkies. So go on your podcast and subscribe to them, and go give them a listen. It's a great show. Tyler, how can folks follow you?
It's just my name, so it's at Tyler Jankoski. That's Jankoski, and that is my account for everything. It's mainly weather, but I post some other stuff on there, and that would be the way to find me on all platforms: Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Very cool. All right, well, let's transition. Jared, I'm going to actually let you bring in our next guest. You and Shay know Chris a little bit better than I do. You guys are all South Carolina folk, and Tyler, you and Dakota, stick around if you want, because we're going to be talking about the severe weather that hit the Southeast, and I know you guys will have some good input as well. So, Jared, I'll give it to you, and let you lead the second part of our discussion here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Scotty. Yeah, it's and Tyler and Dakota, thanks so much for all you do. I live for the GoesBot, so it's fantastic. So we've got Chris Jackson with us tonight. Chris Jackson is a budding meteorologist in training, doing Penn State online, and he used to be in the fire service. He used to be a firefighter for 10 years in Columbia, South Carolina area, and is quite a bit of a photographer and storm chaser. I don't know how he does all that driving, but I sure would be tired. But man's got a motor, and he's got some really great shots from Alabama and South Carolina. So, Chris, thank you for joining us tonight, man. So Alabama Monday, rough, brutal to put it mildly. It did end up being EF3 damage in Jacksonville. I know that we were kind of trading some messages back and forth on Twitter about that. Talk to me about kind of your thought process and just how you went into doing some of these intercepts.
That was Monday was crazy. It was the craziest day I've ever seen. Storm chasing. Most of the time here in South Carolina, you don't get supercells like that, especially with the network, the topography here. It's just a lot more difficult. And Alabama, it was difficult, but in different ways. Basically, started Sunday night and went to Birmingham Sunday night, and then got up Monday morning and headed north toward Decatur, Alabama, and it seemed to be a pretty good spot. And then just kind of went from there.
Very cool. And so, so what was it like? You get into position there, and you got to see some stuff. Like you got right on those wall clouds. I mean, you were all over the place, man. I was watching. We were all kind of following you all day. You're just all over the place. And how did you decide your intercept targets?
All right. So basically, I went to Decatur first because looking at the model data, the sounding data, everything, from probably Thursday, Friday through the weekend, everything said northern Alabama was going to be the hot spot. And so, what I did was I actually did some Google aerial maps and just tried to find the best topography inside that, hot spot, and came up with Decatur. It was right on the Tennessee River. And if you look on, like a Google Earth aerial, like a state view of Alabama, you'll see basically farmland for about 60, 70 miles wide, about 40 miles, north-south. And I was like, that's great. That's right in the middle of the spot. And that's why I chose Decatur, and went there. Then probably about 11:30, 12 o'clock, I remember closer to 1. But the first storm fired up, and it went tornado warn just on the south side of the Tennessee River, close to Muscle Shoals, I think. And I was on the north side of the river just because I didn't want to get, hung out to dry by the road network and not being able to cross the river and then not being able to catch back up to the storm. So I went north of the river, and as that storm crossed the Tennessee River, it actually entered some more stable air, and it just it weakened. I mean, fast as it developed, it weakened. And went back out to, I think it's I-65, and just kind of watched the storm from a distance with a bunch of other chasers. There's probably 15 or 20 other chasers out there, and we all just watched the storm and just kind of dissipate and then headed back south toward Coleman, and actually made it into Coleman as the storm started to develop out near Oxford, Mississippi. And once that started, it was game on. Just went dead for that storm that I ended up on. And on the radar presentation, as that line developed, there was a broken line of discrete supercells, and the storm I went to ended up kind of breaking free from that line. And as it did that, it started going from southwest to northeast, and it took almost a direct east track. And then when it did that, it just came straight to me, and it just worked out great.
Sometimes it's okay if the storm chases you, right? I mean, it's just it kind of saves you on gas.
Exactly.
So, that's great. So I'm hoping that you missed out on some of the hail.
Absolutely. I actually lucked out and I didn't see a single hailstone the entire trip. That was one thing I told myself I'm not going to get into because, just like with the sounding data for, trying to find the best area for tornadoes, that same sounding data would tell you there's going to be some big hail with that. And I don't want any part of big hail. And sure enough, when the hailstorm hit Coleman that night, right after sundown, that everybody's seen, hundreds of videos of, I was about 5 miles south of Coleman, looking due north, right back up the interstate. And it just looked like, World War III with power flashes. I've never seen anything like it. It was insane.
That's amazing, Chris, because I mean the tornadoes were bad in Alabama, but a big story was the hail, and for you not to see any of that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I wanted no part of that. I mean, could I've absolutely I could have drove straight into a hail core, but I want no part of that, man.
Yeah, Chris, I'm trying to find your tweet where you actually showed power lines on the ground, and they were sparking up pretty bad. Yeah. So once I pull that up, I'll see if James can share it out. But that was pretty intense. I mean, you chased this storm all the way from Alabama area all the way across over to Florida and up into South Carolina. Did you come into Charleston as well?
Yeah, I actually chased that storm. The picture of the wall cloud I got. That thing was probably a quarter mile wide, maybe bigger. It was only a mile or two from me. When I got that, I wasn't but like 3 or 4 miles from the Mississippi state line near Red Bay, Alabama, and I chased that same storm. It produced. I know the tornado in Russellville. I think I provided Jared with a couple of pictures of that. I'm like 5 miles south of Russellville when it's all wrapped up in rain and the entire sky went green. It was amazing. And then that storm kept producing a tornado for about 70 miles until it crossed 65 and got near Eva. Once it did that, it was nighttime, and it was going from a discrete supercell event to like a QLCS, and then eventually into an MCS. And basically, the storms followed me, and I followed the storms all the way back to South Carolina.
Right. Yeah, I've got your tweet up here on air now, where you can just see the power line just firing off. Were there any? Did you witness any fires or any significant damages to any of these areas?
I saw some roof damage to a few homes and a few like barns and stuff like that. That area that I chased in was really rural, and for the most part, cell service was actually good, which was thankful because that's everything. Sometimes when you're in an area and you don't know roads, the road network isn't that great. Being able to have GPS, being able to have radar data, NWS chat, being able to see what's going on in real time, and that's huge.
Chris, so, I'll tell you, I don't know if you may know this, you may not know this, but James Spain gave you a big shout out while you're down there chasing. So that's pretty cool.
I actually I got a tweet about that, and I never even looked at it until last night. I was laying in the bed and I was like, And so I got to looking through and I actually saw that. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was watching live and he was just showing the video that Shay had, and he said Chris Jackson, a meteorologist in South Carolina, is down here chasing. And gave us this wonderful video. I was like, that is really cool. So
yeah, I was maybe probably 2 miles from that tornado when I shot that video. It just came through. I mean, there was still stuff falling out of the sky.
Wow.
And what's crazy about it is, as those storms developed early in the day, before I made it up to Decatur, I'd made a little pit stop right at the interstate. I can't remember the exit. It was just some little small gas station. I think that thing was closed. But that tornado actually went straight through there later that night, or later that evening, right where I was at earlier that day. And I've just been kind of wrapping my head around that. I'm like, that's crazy.
Now, Chris, did you have? I was looking through your Twitter feed, so I don't know if you answered this yet, but was you able to get to Jacksonville Did you see any of the damage, or did you kind of steer clear of that area?
All right, so the Jacksonville storm, that thing really got going. I was near Asheville, Alabama. If you're looking on a map, it's kind of, I don't know, halfway between Anniston and Birmingham, maybe. And I was out near Asheville, and I was kind of chasing some rain wrapped tornadoes in the dark, and it wasn't real fun. And I already made a decision, like, I'm going back to the interstate, just going to head toward home. And then the whole Jacksonville thing started to happen. So I tried to hurry up and get to Jacksonville. I knew I wouldn't be able to catch the storm, when it was in Jacksonville. I was still probably 30 miles to the west of it. But I figured when it got near Villa Rica, Georgia, between like Tallapoosa and Villa Rica, I'm like, with its motion, it should cross the interstate, and we should be real close to each other. And so that was what I was going to do. I was going to see if I could just, catch it there versus, trying to go up into some rain and hail all back up into Jacksonville, because I knew that would be, a total mess. And I'm sure they had all the help in the world, and felt I would be best to go into Georgia and see if I could give some ground truth to this thing to make sure it's still on the ground. But as I approached it, like, the tornado dissipated, and it just evolved into a straight line MCS, like me and Jared tweeted, like a bowling ball. I mean, it was crazy. I was right behind the leading edge of it all the way through Georgia. The tornado that went to west of Hartsville Jackson the other night in Atlanta. I mean, that thing was 6 miles off my right window. I could see the power flashes from it, but no way I'm getting close to that in the middle of the night in the rain. Safety first.
So Chris, a question for you. I'm going to do a screen share. I'm going to show a couple of your pictures. And this is in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yes, sir. That
where you took this photo right here. Tell me a little bit about the dynamics of the atmosphere where you were in Alabama versus Charleston, South Carolina, where it's along the coast. We have cooler shelf waters here. Was there a distinct difference that you saw in the cloud development and the storm development here versus there?
Oh, absolutely. The Alabama thing was, most of the morning you had the CDO, but central dense overcast. I mean, it's kind of like a tropical system. Yeah, I mean, it was overcast until probably 11:30 or almost noon, and then once that overcast broke, it was a little bit of scattered cumulus. Then it got clear. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we're driving west to intercept the line as it developed in Mississippi. The skies were clear. I think I got a picture of it in there somewhere of the anvil off in the distance, and that was from about 100 miles away. You can see the anvil. But yesterday in Charleston, it was just a lot of low cumulus. It just never cleared out that. And I noticed as the storms approached the coast, they get 3 to 4 miles from the actual ocean. And I guess there would be some interaction with the sea breeze there that would cause them to elongate a little bit and move more north than the easterly track they were doing. That was kind of neat to see on a mesoscale.
For those of you just joining us, yes, Chris Jackson from South Carolina Weather, joining us after a rousing couple of days of storm chasing in Alabama, and then saw a couple spins and some hail cores in Charleston. So, Chris, you mentioned that chasing in Charleston is different than Alabama. I can't imagine why, but I can imagine why. But I want to talk about just some of the key differences that you find navigating our roads versus out there.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of roads, especially around the Charleston area, east of 95, you basically have US 17, and that's it. That's your only good 4-lane divided highway that you can get somewhere reasonably fast. Other than that, it's 2-lane back roads. About the Alabama thing, their road network's really good, and there's a lot of 4-lane highways, divided highways, that kind of thing. But once you do get off the main roads, it's actually a little bit worse in South Carolina. The video that Jared was talking, or was it? Oh gosh, it was Scotty. Scotty was talking about James Spann. When I showed that video, that I was on a dirt road. I mean, I was trying to get from one road over to the main road, and the main road had trees down it. I mean, just as far as I could see, it was big oak trees, big hickory trees, way too big for me to try to get around or go over or move, anything like that. So I went down this dirt road and actually had to go around one tree out through, I guess the tree was around the edge of the road, and thank goodness for 4-wheel drive. But you get off the main roads there, and they can get a little suspect also.
Living in Charleston, having to drive in Charleston. Yeah, no, I would never chase here.
Yeah, no.
Years. No.
But, and that was, my approach yesterday. I knew, once I got into, I come from Walterboro down 17 alternate or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Basically, West Ashley went to the Limehouse Bridge. I knew once I got there, I'm like, I'm not going any further because there's no point.
The best place to chase here in Charleston is the beach.
Yeah, I
so
could
if you just come to the beach and pitch a chair and hang out and wait for the shelf clouds to arrive, they will come to you. You don't have to do anything; they will come to you, and it's beautiful. It's crazy, but you'll catch some really, really cool stuff heading towards the coastline, especially if you have a sea breeze interaction where it blows up. Man, it is fantastic. So, just go and relax on the beach. That's all you got to do.
Find your rooftop bar in downtown Charleston. Go grab you a beer and just look out to the west and just wait. It'll blow up. You won't get a drop on you, and it'll look really awesome.
Right.
But yeah, man. Talk to us a little bit just while we got you. You just recently made a big career change. So again, you're a firefighter for 10 years and you're going to meteorology school now. Talk about let's talk for a minute about that thought process, and that's a gutsy call, man.
It is a gutsy call, and it's like I told a lot of people, and a lot of people that know me, know me well, have known me for a long time. I've always been a weather guy, for lack of better terms. I grew up with staring at the sky when I was a kid. As cliche and cheesy as that may be, I kind of liked it, and that was something I always wanted to do through high school. But at the time, and with technology and stuff, there was nothing online, and there was nothing here locally. And I'm not going to lie, I'm just kind of a local guy, mama's boy. Call me what you want, but I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave home, and so the fire department kind of worked out 6 months out of high school. And in January 2003, I joined the fire department. Was there until November of last year, and it was great. It was great. I mean, 15 years almost. It was the best career I could ever imagine. But even having a great career and being successful in it, and getting to do everything I ever could have done, being part of the state urban search and rescue team, being a swiftwater rescue instructor, doing some of the things that I was able to do, was great. But still, there was that part in my heart and like in the back of my head, like, man, weather, like, come on. So I guess over the course of a few months, I got to thinking about it. I'm like, I can keep talking about it, or I can do it. One day you're gonna wake up and be old and be like, well, I could have done that, but I didn't want to be that guy. So it was a tough decision. It was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made in my life. But I know going forward, there's a plan for me. What that plan is, we'll see. But I'm definitely going to try to do my best to succeed with weather, and whatever realm that ends up being, we'll see.
Well, we're certainly glad you're following your passion, Chris, and welcome to the community. We're looking forward to seeing more. And if you have questions, ask. We're all. We may even have you as a panelist here.
Oh, I appreciate that, Shay. I'm not shy to ask a question, especially you and Jared.
Yeah, man.
We could use somebody in the Midland, South Carolina. That would be excellent, I think.
I started doing the Facebook thing. The Facebook thing is, I guess, quote unquote, what made me popular, even though I really don't like to look at it that way. And I kind of started that as it wasn't really a joke, but a couple of the guys that I work with, and a couple of people I was friends with, they was like, you're kind of good at this. You ought to make like a blog or something. So I was like, okay, I'll try to make a blog. And so for like 6-8 months, it didn't grow a whole lot, but I still did it because I enjoyed it. And people started to catch on and started to read it a little bit. And 3.5 years later, I got 56,000 likes on Facebook, and it's like, gracious, what happened?
Yeah, you certainly have National Weather Service Columbia's attention for sure.
Right. Back in, I think it was 2015, the first part of 2015. I got a message from him, and we started messaging each other back and forth. And at first, I was scared. I was like, oh God, I done made the Weather Service, man. This is not good. And that was kind of like my first thought process. And I went in and talked with some of the forecasters there, and basically formed a partnership out of it. And it's been great ever since. I've made some friends over there. I love them guys and gals. They're good people. They do a phenomenal job, regardless of what some may say. They're spot on most of the time, dead on the money.
No, that's fantastic. So Have you thought about, what you might want to do with this? Do you want to continue
Yeah,
to build your media empire, or
right. And
get into EM?
yeah, that's oh gosh, that's like $1 million question. Like, I've really grown the weather side of things, and it's like, if I want to continue to grow, which I have no doubt that I could, which direction do I want to go? Is it more toward media? Is it more toward forecasting and having a legitimate, like, I guess, a third party media based weather company, if you will? I mean, there's a lot of different ways I've thought about going. I've had a lot of people that on Facebook, they always ask me if I have an app, and I'd love to have an app. I really would. Some of the features I'd like to integrate into one, but it's that that comes with the money thing, and not to get into all that, but maybe someday we'll have an app for Sucking on the Weather. We'll see. I'd love to. But for now, I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing. Most of the time, I really don't get it. I don't like playing the game of like clickbait, satire stuff, like the doom and gloom that so many people on social media do these days. That all they're doing is generating clicks and content for advertising and to make money. And I hate to say it like that, but it is. And I really try to keep it real. And if the weather's good, if it's high pressure in the middle of the summertime where the Bermuda high is sitting over, it's going to be 100 degrees and it's not going to rain for 2 weeks. Probably not going to hear much out of me. And I think most of my people know that.
That's when you do outreach. You inform people about watches and warnings and
right,
all kinds of things in the weather. You've got to keep content going. So
that's right. Yeah. And what I've really tried to do, especially the last 2 years, after the floods of 2015, I had like 6.5 million views on Facebook that 1 week, just from the flooding in 2015 in October. Ever since then, my popularity, I basically doubled in size overnight. And it's like, gracious, there's a lot of people reading this stuff. So I've tried to keep it really, really, I guess, on point and as important as necessary at the time. If that makes any sense. Like, I just don't want to waste people's time reading what I got to say.
No, it's good. I think it's great. You do good work. You're not one of these types that say, I've been telling you since June of 2017 that this would happen.
Right.
And you know what I mean? Like,
alert mode.
Yeah. I mean, that's what some people do. Some people try to they predict the weather and then they give themselves all this credit and say me. And it's not about us as individual forecasters. It's about getting the word out in near real time or as close to real time as possible without, preemptive screening early. You don't want to just pop stuff out there too early. But I mean, kudos to you. I mean, that's why you have a lot of followers, because you do a good job.
I appreciate that, Shay. The rest of you guys, there's so much that goes into it. I'll finish up here real quick. Especially with snowfall in South Carolina, people go crazy over snow. I'm one of them. I love snow. Some people hate it. So I love it. But, most folks just don't truly understand how hard it is to forecast snow when you got like an in situ wedge over half the state 4 days in advance. Nobody knows where the snow line is going to be or if it's going to snow at all. And that's something I'm really trying to work on to help people understand is how fluid these situations are. Sometimes it is going to be a nowcast, and that's not a great answer to give somebody, but it's an honest answer. But that's all I got to say about
one thing I stress to you, Chris. You're talking about that, and something I like to do, and something that we actually had our integrated warning team meeting yesterday at the National Weather Service GSP, and we're talking about in the Weather Service. I think what you're going to start seeing a lot more, and they're already doing it with some of their products, is expressing the uncertainty in a forecast. It's okay to say, hey, we're not sure what's going to happen yet. And I think everybody thinks you have to give that clear, concise answer, but it's not always there. And
that's right.
Case in point, what's going to happen this weekend in the Southeast, it's going to be crazy because some people are probably going to get hammered by a winter storm while others are not. And we just don't know that, and probably won't know that until Friday, Saturday, once the event starts. So
that's right, and that goes back to what was it, December or January? We had the snowfall that down there in Shay's part of the world where they got half a foot in Charleston. I was up the coast a little bit over Myrtle Beach, and to be quite honest with you, Myrtle Beach never saw a single snowflake. I went south on 17, got to Devido, which is rather near Georgetown. That's where the rain snow line was. Go back north, it was nothing, just thanks to a dry slot. And you can't forecast. You can't forecast some things 3 days in advance.
And we'll take that slice of joy for once every 15 years. We'll take it.
Right.
Heck yeah. Well, Chris, thanks so much. We're really excited for you. And again, it's really inspiring to see you pursue your passion and pursue your storms. I didn't know that you slept, so it was nice to know that you did finally get some sleep after all that driving. So that's good. But yeah, thanks again, Chris. Scotty, I'm going to go ahead and toss it back to you. And we'll wrap up show 325, which will never be forgotten.
That's right. It will never be forgotten. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us. And we also want to thank Tyler and Dakota, who joined us from the Weather Junkies. We appreciate you, Chris.
Yeah,
I don't know how can our followers follow you? How can
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I think I'm on about everything there is. On Facebook, South Carolina Weather. It's at my SC Weather, and then on Twitter, it's my handle on Twitter is Chris Jackson SC. On the Facebook side of business, on my official page, it's just going to be weather. That's all for the most part. 99% of the posts is going to be weather related. With the Twitter stuff, it's my personal page, and I'll rant on about things sometimes, but I try to keep it about weather most of the time.
Like Jared said, 325 is going to be a show we always remember. So we appreciate you coming on, Chris.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Next Wednesday night, the 28th, we're wrapping up National Weather Podcast Month with Todd Lindley. He's the Science and Operations Officer at the National Weather Service in Norman, Oklahoma. Again, that was a show ravaged by technical difficulties, so we're going to try to correct that show as well as we talk about forecasting wildfires. And then on April the 4th, we are going to be talking with Dr. John Jankoski, right?
John Jansenius. He's the NOAA's lightning expert. So he's the one that does. He's the one that sends out all the reports with the live information from the news, how many, the statistics, everything, you name it. If you're on his email thread, we get that information. We'll be presenting that as well. John will likely have a presentation to do and just more safety awareness for lightning, since he is the leading expert.
Thank you, Shay. I'm telling you, I really have butchered up names tonight, and I apologize about that. So, but Todd Lindley will be on with us next week as we talk about forecasting wildfires. So, for a wonderful show that's now went on an hour and a half now, and all kinds of difficulties, we thank you for watching the Carolina Weather Group and listening to us. We hope that you will join us next week as we finish up the National Weather Podcast Month. Until then, have a great week. If you see snow this weekend, enjoy it, because I'm tired of it, I'm sick of it, and I don't want to see any more of it.